Howdy, welcome. This is Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co. And I bet you think I forgot. Happy anniversary. That's right. As of today, we're 1 year old with this channel. Thank you so much for following me along my brewing journey, all the things that I've been able to learn and share, and it's amazing to think that so many of you in such short of a time have followed me along on this journey. Thank you so much. If you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We're closing in on 200 subs right now, so that's pretty exciting. And let's get a beer. Let's talk about it. Today's episode is just gonna be about all the things that we've done so far up to now, some of the things that we're gonna focus on going forward on the channel, and talk about some of the videos that we've done. I'm kind of excited about talking about them. There's some of them that maybe you didn't know about, or there's some of them that you might want to rewatch. So let's get that beer and let's talk about it. And here it is, Tropical Stout. It's a collaboration brew between another YouTuber and I. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. So the first video that I want to talk about is actually the first one that we made. So it was a bunch of Berliner Weiss that we made here. I was trying to learn the style. I had made one, and then I wanted to experiment and with some different yeast, throwing some fruit at it just to kind of get a basic idea of the style and kind of how to play with it a little bit anyways. I had added fruit before to some other beers and some other beer styles quite successfully. Never really without it being terrible up until that point. And even the fruit addition beer there, it wasn't bad. It just, the fruit addition wasn't super present. I learned a few things there that I tried to replicate or correct going forward on a few other beers later on through the year. But so the first video, I was super nervous. I was worried about being on camera, trying to find my voice and all that. I think that video turned out really well for being what it turned out to be. I think it was a great video. The whole idea behind the project of the videos that I make, the channel, that video in particular and whatnot, is I wanted to share my homebrew experience. I wanted to document it. I wanted to share the things that I already knew, the things that I was trying to learn. As I was trying to research things, there was some dead ends throughout the internet, or some really hard information to find. So I wanted to kind of be another source of information, another anchor in the community for some of this stuff, and also just kind of help build that community to have stronger roots, stronger grasp of things fermented, be it the beer or whatever I end up playing with. I think it's an interesting thing, and I've learned so much from other YouTube channels, places like Reddit, Homebrew Talks and things like that. And like I said, this is just kind of a way to share, learn, grow, and give back a little bit. So it's just an awesome feeling to, you know, be asked at things like Homebrew Club, hey, I saw you did a video on that, can you go a little bit more detail? Or, you know, be able to kind of share some stuff on the internet or some of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, I really feel like finding that voice of authority. Hey, you know, I've brewed one batch of beer. I can kind of share my experiences with somebody that hasn't. Hey, I've brewed 14 sours, mixed fermentation, you know, I kind of know a thing or two about this. Or, hey, I've just only done kettle sours up until this point, but now I wanted to transition into mixed fermentation, or whatever the case may be. Just having that voice of authority and finding it has been a unique experience for me. I never really thought that I would be a professional at anything, and I still don't at this point in time anyways. But just being able to say, hey, you know, from my understanding, you can do X, Y, Z, and like really take a step back and say, man, you know, a year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, you know, when I started brewing or when I started playing with that style or whatever, you know, who would have ever thought that I would be a person that's actually able to give advice or have a theory or something of like that. You know, it's totally cool. So the first video though, man, it was an amazing experience, trying to learn how to edit and shoot and upload and pick out music and, you know, just do all that kind of stuff that goes along with putting together something. And man, it received a very warm welcome from friends and family, and kind of just started getting going there, and I just have fond memories of that. And it was the first video that we went ahead and put some outtakes and some funny B-roll stuff at the end. And that was kind of a common theme through a lot of the videos. There's some that don't have it. I don't know how many people really know about the outtakes and stuff that go into that. They used to be pretty, they used to be pretty easy to be able to cut and put on the end of the video, you know, with the mistakes that I made and, you know, just all that kind of stuff. The more videos that I've been able to do and collaborations and stuff like that, not gonna say I don't mess up, it's just I'm able to have cleaner transitions, I'm able to have a cleaner train of thought and be a little bit more comfortable talking to you guys. So that's been kind of a cool thing, but also like sometimes I feel like I'm a little obligated to go find something to show the lighter side of things. I know there's some videos where I present a little bit more dry or whatever, but I do like to have a good time. So the next segment is going to be videos that kind of surprised me, that took off a little bit faster, a little bit crazier, causes some controversy when I'm asked about them, and I catch a little flack on when at Brew Club or whatever. So the no chill video just skyrocketed, and my local Brew Club friends really like to give me a bunch of guff over not chilling my wort, and all that kind of stuff. It's all meant in love and thankfulness of some alternative information anyways, I think. I don't think really anybody beats me up too bad or too seriously over it. But another video that kind of took off pretty fast and pretty crazy was the raw ale video. The original one that I did, that thing has generated, it's probably the most popular well, I know it is the most popular video on the channel right now. That thing doesn't go more than 48 hours without seeing at least 2 views. And that's totally nuts to me. Most of the time, it's probably got, within a 48-hour period, at least 5 views. So it's kind of crazy for me to think that I put together a pretty, I guess, obscure, unique video that is generating views like that. I took a gamble on even brewing that thing. It was a style that was interesting to me. I was hesitant to do it because I was a little worried that I didn't understand it very well. So I took a shot in the dark. Turned out surprisingly well. All my friends that I let try it liked it. Some people that I don't know that well, through like Brew Club and whatnot, I've shared with it, and they really liked it. Which leads into another one of the more surprising videos that kind of took off. Almost equally as crazy to me was the Raw Ale 2.0, which is a pretty recent upload on the channel here. And so the first Raw Ale went really well. I really liked it. I had a few mix-ups along the way, still trying to like learn the style or the technique, I guess, more than the style. And so I took all those lessons learned and I used it for the second version of that beer. And there was a local homebrew or local brew-off type competition that was attached to a chili cook-off. So it was kind of right there in the middle of spring, and I decided that I was going to enter that competition and that I was going to brew raw ale, take it out there, and just see what everybody that, you know, may or may not know about beer would think about it. I think it would be a style that I might enter into the standard traditional type competitions, but I was curious what the general public would think about it, and it was received really well, which was surprising to me. I didn't really foresee myself winning that competition. I mean, of course I went out there and talked a lot of shit, but at the end of the day, man, there was some really good brews out there, and I was kind of surprised that I walked away with it. But man, sometimes I guess you just never know. So the next segment, let's talk about some of the videos that I thought would have taken off a little bit faster than they did, or be a little bit more popular. Maybe they're not necessarily appealing this time of year, or maybe they're just too niche. But I think if more people maybe knew about them, there's some information, some cool techniques, or just maybe even a fun video to watch that they may not know about. And one of them is the collaboration brew that I did with Homebrew Hero. It was our eggnog stout. So that was pretty fun. It was his first stout ever. We took my base stout recipe, we brewed it and kind of just tweaked it a little bit, and that was pretty fun. That thing, we ended up taking wood chips and scorching them and soaking them into bourbon and then adding them into secondary. It was the first time that I really ended up using spices in secondary, in the secondary fermenter. So that was kind of a fun, nerve-wracking experience. I was worried about an infection due to that, but so far everything came out really well with that beer, and I'm pretty happy with it. Another kind of surprising one was the Wiser Wizen kettle sour beer that I brewed. That one, I thought, as well as some of the other Berliner videos that I had made, that thing would have kind of been a little bit further along in the viewership there. But maybe because I had already covered some of that stuff and talked about kind of what I would do differently and employing that, maybe a lot of people didn't find that necessarily interesting. Another video that I really liked when we shot it, and I had a really good time, and I think that the other collaborators there had a good time too, was the collaboration brew that I did with Venture Brewing. Those guys came down, and man, they were awesome guests just here to have at home, but also on the channel. We sat around taste testing each other's beers, kind of talking about, you know, what we're smelling, what we're tasting, kind of maybe doing some palate learning there, and explaining each other's experiences to kind of help learn from each other. A lot of those beers there were quite fermented, us kind of being more or less in the same area here in Texas. We both are avid users of Klike, and so we do it a little differently than each other, and I think we picked up a few hints and tricks there. So I know it's a little bit of a longer watch, and it's just a couple guys sitting around drinking beer, but I think there's some valuable information in there that some people might find interesting anyways. The last two videos that I want to talk about real quick is going to be one called Yeasty, and that's a video where I took some commercial yeast and I basically stole it from the bottle. I worked up a pitchable amount for beer that led into the next video that I wanted to talk about, which was Hell Saison. So those two videos kind of go tied together a little bit, mostly because that the yeast from the Yeasty video fed the beer that became Hell Saison. And that one, Hell Saison, was basically a mixed fermentation beer from the yeast that we stole from the farmhouse commercial brewery out of those bottles. And that was a fun experiment. There's been a couple other people out there doing it, but it was one of those things that I felt like I had to experience a little bit myself. I was really starting to gain an appreciation towards the Saison farmhouse, you know, mixed fermentation type beers, and you know, going kind of down that sour path. And so that was a pretty fun experience, trying to, you know, make sure, one, you know, like the bugs that I captured in there beat the other wild bugs and yeast and stuff like that. That beer sat around for a long time in the fermenter, so it was an exercise in patience, you know, waiting for it to fully ferment out. And it's kind of been a little bit of an exercise in patience, waiting for those beers to kind of just sit around and mature a little bit. We're fixing to hit about that 1 year mark here pretty soon on those beers, so that's going to be kind of fun to see how some of those souring agents have transformed, and what flavors they developed and whatnot. There's not a whole lot of those things sitting around. I've shared the ever-loving crap out of those beers, and they've picked up a pretty good liking by friends and family and stuff like that. There's been a few of them that I've also entered into some homebrew competitions, so I'm waiting for some of those results to come back. Fingers crossed those things will do pretty well. I'm pretty excited about it, and I really need to take some time and rebrew those beers because they take so long to ferment out. They take so long to like let mature, and even just be able to take into a secondary fermenter and kind of play around with them there too, everything kind of takes a little bit longer. So I need to get going on more projects like that, let them sit around and exercise a little bit more patience when it comes to packaged beers. So hopefully before too much longer, we can have a few more projects like that going on. So while we've talked about some of the past things that we've done, there's just so much that I have to be thankful for here as the channel host. You know, I get to do some pretty cool stuff with some people. Some of the things that I've been able to do too that I haven't really talked a lot about is like through my brew club, the Bay Area Masternodes. We have a program where we introduce newer brewers and older brewers together to try to get everybody, you know, brewing along the same lines. Everybody's got a little something to share with each other. So one of the cool things that was pretty awesome that happened last year was that my friend and fellow brewer at that time, my partner that I was assigned, he and we entered a homebrew competition, and our beer won. We got to brew it on the professional scale. We got to help name it, and we got to help design the can art for it, and it was just a total awesome experience. So his name is Jonathan, and he runs the Dysfunctional Brewing blog. He would really like it if you stop by there, check out his stuff. He's a lot more to style guidelines than I am. I'm still trying to figure out how to brew to style guidelines. You know, what do some of these terms mean, and what direction should you head it in, and whatnot. Before this channel, I was a lot of a kit guy, or I had just kind of started writing my own recipes a little bit the year before and trying to figure it out. So learning a lot of things from him helped gain that power of authority, the voice of authority for, I feel like what is key to being able to, you know, just kind of get over it and start something like a YouTube channel, a blog, a podcast, or any content like that. And so I know he just recently started that blog, so there's a few articles about what he's doing and stuff. He is a phenomenal brewer, and there is so much stuff there that he has to share. And so I know he would really enjoy it if you maybe stop by his blog and just tell him hello. Another benefit though, having been hooked up, you know, through the Brew Club, is, you know, there's been so much good content creation, just, you know, nationwide, worldwide, or whatever. But now more and more of my fellow Brew Club members are starting to do things like that. And so, like, even in my own Brew Club, you know, there were some people that had channels or whatever before me, like the Barking Dog Garage, Craft Brew Hero, but it's kind of been cool to see other things and other people come along the way of John with his Best of Show podcast, Trezell and his Dock of the Bay Country Wines, and just having that network of other brewers and other content creators to say, you know, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? Everybody's approachable and stuff. So that's been a total awesome experience to be able to help myself get better, not only as a brewer, but as a content creator, but help, you know, everybody that started after me, or that hasn't even tried to do something that I've done. So it's great to network all that. And speaking of the networking, it has helped open up a ton of doors to all kinds of people. I was on a podcast with Sylvia the Draft Queens podcast, and they were totally awesome. I got to bring some homebrew with me there, and we sat down, we talked about it. We talked about, you know, what I executed greatly. I shared some styles that they weren't really familiar with, they had never heard of or seen, or it was so obscure that maybe that there was one example that they had ever had of before or knew about. So that was totally cool. But having access to all this stuff, we started all talking and becoming friends and saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool of this or that? So kind of as a not really super official announcement, because I've already announced it in a few places, but we're going to start up another channel. It's going to be a secondary channel, and it's called Fermentors. And the awesome thing about this is with Fermentors, we're going to come together, we're going to rotate out guests, we're going to rotate out co-hosts and things like that, and talk about the topics that are important to us. There's going to be things like homebrewing on there. There's going to be things like professional brewers and brewery owners are going to come on the show and talk about techniques, tips, all that kind of stuff that they're willing to share. We're going to talk to people that are in distribution and sales and marketing. We're going to talk about all kinds of topics, and we're going to have all kinds of people on there. Got a few judges that want to come on there and talk about judging competitions. We've got some really good and big names in like metal competitions that want to share some secrets that they do to get ready for brewing for a competition, the kind of mindset and preparations that you need to do to be successful in that. So that's going to be pretty fun. So stay tuned for that. We've got a few episodes already shot. We need to finish up wrapping them up, editing and getting them ready for packaging. So that's just another thing that is totally awesome about the homebrew and just brewing community is everybody's so welcoming, open, honest, you know, ready to put in a little bit extra hard work and just talk about it at the end of the day. You know, the more we have these discussions, the better beer just gets, be it at the homebrew level or craft brew level. So while we're talking about the future of things, there's a few more collaboration brews that are in the works or that have already been done. We just need to wrap up shooting those and editing those for be ready for release. And a lot of the brewing that I've done over this last year has been more or less like guidelines or style guidelines or guided type brewing of some sort. And going forward, I kind of want to branch out and kind of get back to more of the inspirational art type form of brewing, where it's more interpretive to you know what I'm doing, the style or whatever the case may be. I've got quite a few ideas that I want to implement. There's some techniques and stuff that I'm either unfamiliar with or that I want to try to employ. So that's going to be fun trying to figure out like where those can go and you know present those too. I want to try to tap into some alternative things to brew, not just beer, not just wine, cider, mead. All those are cool, and I definitely want to hit those kind of like within the next year. So by year 2, I've kind of maybe have done one of those and things like that. But so we experiment a little bit with kombucha here. Maybe I can do a guide for that. I think that might be fun and non-beer related. So that'll be kind of cool to be able to touch upon. And we're going to probably try to implement some upgrades to the brewery. maybe a little bit before the year, more smaller scale stuff. I would really like to eventually get a stainless steel fermenter. I think that that'll help open up some doors to some other styles and stuff like that. The focus so far for the channel has kind of been more of the lower, I hate to say like lower threshold or lower skill level or anything like that, kind of maybe more entry friendly, more intermediate area, like that transitional spot there. So it's been fun to kind of present some of that stuff, and I don't think that it's not gonna not be fun to do some of that stuff, but you know, most of my fermenters are still plastic buckets. I've been brewing in some of these things for quite a while. Some of them are starting to get a little rough around the edges, so I kind of do feel the pull to kind of upgrade some. I'm probably gonna end up with a few more of those Firmzilla all-rounders and play around with some of the attachments and things like that. With everything that we've done, I think it's just time to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for coming along again. Thank you for just hanging out on Instagram, chatting with me a little bit on the Facebook groups, the Reddit areas that I hang out in, just everything. You guys are so awesome, and I look forward to continuing this. I'm not out of ideas. I've got quite a bit of ingredients back there. I've been paid forward some special yeast to play with, and I've got all kinds of little things working on in the background that's going to be fun to talk about, share, and show. But most of all, really, it just amazes me still how many people interact with me on the Instagram page, and just have been around and kind of, oh, you know, where are you at on this project and stuff like that. You know, finding me, I guess, semi-entertaining. But again, I can't say this enough. Thank you so much. Cheers, y'all. Welcome. Happy first year of, and I bet you think I forgot. Beer that I want to, come on, let's go. Go outside. Go outside.